Hi, my name's Ethan Lawrence.
This is Jesse Leach from Killswitch Engage.
Hi, I'm Scotty Wartooth.
Hi, my name's Sean Smith.
Hi, my name is Deisha Kiva.
Hey, this is Ryan McCombs from the band Soil.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is the Raging Cajun Lash LaRue.
Hey, what's up? Ethan Lader here, director, docuseries, commercials, music videos, Bruno Mars, Mariah Carey, some household names. I'm excited to be here on the Chronicles of Podcast with Jamie and Tom. Check it out, don't go anywhere.
Ladies and gentlemen, theys and thems, this week we bring you a very special guest and our last guest of 2024. This week's guest is a commercial and music video director who has directed music videos for multiple Billboard #1 singles. Quite frankly, we think he could be in the Hall of Fame because he's amazing just the way he is. Going from working with artists like Bruno Mars, Mariah Carey, Fallen in Reverse, Disney, Target, and so many more, now he's with us. So put your hands together as we bring you the Chronicles of Ethan Lader.
Yeah.
Woo!
Ethan.
Guys.
I'm so sorry for Jamie. I did not know you were going to sing, mate. What the fuck?
Dude, that was great. It was great. I love the intro. I've never had an intro where you're singing the intro. That's great.
We're making memories.
Yeah, making memories. Yeah. I love it.
Making history here,
boys. The Hall of Fame, the Bruno Mars, Just the Way You Are. That was good. That was good.
I was going through all the videos and I was like, what can I turn into intro songs? I was like,
yeah. You did well.
Thank you.
Ethan, I suppose we said, how's your personal Monday treating you so far today? How's your day been?
My Monday's been great. My wife and I went to the gym and we did a workout, played around with the dog and catching up on a couple, normal bills and things like that. But I'm at the halfway point of finishing my film. So I've been editing straight for the past 6-7 days, just kind of like me wrapped with the screens in a great way. And it was nice to move the body this morning. I'm happy to chat with you guys. Take a little break for a second before I jump back in. So Monday's going amazing.
Oh,
incredible.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. How's your guys' Monday? How's everything?
Oh, mate.
Wait, what time is it where you are now? We're
9 p.m.
Yeah, 9:05.
Yeah, how was Monday?
Monday was good. I've had a nice chill out day, to be fair. I finished work at 6 o'clock this morning, had a nap, and I've just been chilling. It's been a good day.
Oh, nice. That's good.
I also have been working all day, and then I came home, had some dins, and then was getting prepared for this. So it's one of those things where it's like, when you've got something coming up, and then you can't focus on anything else, but that's coming up later. Like that's literally how my evenings go when we have things like this.
Oh man, that means so much that you were thinking about this coming up. There we go.
You've been on his mind all day.
Yeah,
feeling the love.
Good, it's good. I appreciate you. Literally thought about Ethan all day. That's all I've done. That's
I love it.
But Ethan, how we like to start these things is we like to take it right back to the beginning, to the days of young master lady, you could say. What did you want to be when you were growing up? Has it always been like visual arts for you? Was it something completely different, like race car driver? I don't know.
It's funny because my mom has a book when I was younger that I was always writing when I was, growing up. And you would write your age. And so this one year I wrote 9 and it said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I wrote director and I spelled it wrong. And just the idea of that moment in itself was something that I always hold on to. I've always been in the arts, drawing and painting, as well as sports. I always have done that sort of hand in hand. But around 9 years old, I really wanted to get into making movies. And that was sort of the jump off for me. And since then, I've really been focused about creating visuals, expressing myself as an artist, building a business, and staying true and authentic to myself in the work that I create, since I was a child till now. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Can we just rewind a second? Because you mentioned sports. So now I'm interested. I mean, I'm like, football?
No, football was later. I started it was soccer. I was really big into soccer, and then it was basketball. And basketball has always been my love. And then later on in high school, I played football, and I was like Forrest Gump. I had no idea what I was doing, but I was fast and strong. So they just like, Ethan, you're getting the ball next play. I was the running back, and they were just like, go. And I would cut it up, and I'd get the film later, and you could hear the person recording me like, who is that? And I always played basketball. I never played football. But then later on in high school, that's when I got into that. But sports to me always went hand in hand with art because filmmaking is such a collaborative art, and so is sports. So this idea of growing up in a space where you're working as a team, everyone has a goal so that we can achieve something together. You know, it takes repetition and practice and all these things and leadership and failing and learning how to get back when things don't go your way. I all took from sports, but also applied it to arts. So for me, it was something early on. I knew I was into arts, early, and then filmmaking by 9. And then sports, I was always into probably 8, 9, 10 as well. So they always sort of went hand in hand with me. It was never a separation. And for me, growing up as, I was born in the 80s, prime was 90s, like golden years. But that 80s, 90s, sports and arts was always very like separate. It was like arts and sports. And like, even the idea of like fashion in sports was like, no, you just play sports. And so I was that kid that was jumping back and forth. I was kind of flexible and fluid with everyone and kind of my surroundings as peers, but arts and sports were those were the main ones I would jump between in terms of like social groups and stuff like that.
That's such an amazing like analogy and way to look at it because I've never thought about it that way ever. It's always got, like you say, it's like that's sports, that's fashion, that's arts, that's this, that's music. And then it's no, but actually if you think about it in a way, it all sort of intertwines quite beautifully.
Oh yeah. And for me, I like to really, with everything I do, but if in arts or sports as an example, take the things I'm learning from sports and apply them to the arts. So I'm very competitive with my art. There's times where I get tired, but mentally I'm like, no, we have to keep going. We're going to finish this today. We set goals. There's this kind of like the coach. I was like the hard coach because that made you work hard. I was the, wasn't the tallest or I was pretty fast, but I just worked hard. I hustled. And so that was like my joy out of that. So I like to apply that to my art. And so that always helped my art in terms of staying focused, staying grounded, not getting too, focusing on what was next, not getting like caught up in, if something, caught on or the popularity of something, it was like, all right, what's the next project? And I feel like that came from sports of being like, all right, we're in the playoffs, we're here, but how are we going to get to the championship? And then you have goals that you set. And so I like to do that with my art as well.
So inspirational. Like it's actually quite beautiful as well. But I can't imagine you're directing a video, say, and you're gonna go, right, you're gonna get the camera, and when you get it, run. I just
But you'd be surprised how the choreography of sports and setting plays like football or basketball comes into blocking when you're blocking a scene and the actor is going to go a couple steps forward and then kind of go to the left and the camera's going to come down and you're planning out what's going to happen. There's a choreography similar to dance, like sports. There's a they all fluid and flow into each other. So we're able to take those things that you learned in practicing sports and then apply them to the art, especially being on set. Like depending on your approach to set and life, it can be very stressful and you're thinking about time and money and getting everything done. It can also be a really fun place to play. And I think same as sports. And when it comes to preparation, especially for filmmaking and what I can talk on in terms of being on set, and the minute you step on set, it's like a countdown, similar to a time clock. And you have X amount for your day. Anything is going to be over time, which you don't want to go into because that's money. And you're also going to get the ripple effects of turnaround and things for your next day and things that are planned that have to happen at certain times that will get affected if you go over. So you're like, I want to stay as much as I can in that space. And as a director, you're delegating like a point guard on set, or I guess you could say a quarterback on a football field. But for me, more basketball is the point guard, and I liked running the plays. I like seeing the mixed matches. Where's our strength that you find out on set? You're like, oh, we saw the location and you saw the location and you're talking with everybody and you know where the camera's going to go. And then you finally get the talent and you work it all out and you realize, oh, the camera needs to go over here. And if you get too vision locked, you don't see the big picture of what's the best thing now that we have it all here. You need to sort of embrace and flow. And I think same with sports. There's times you're like, all right, this is going to be the plan. And then you realize that person off the bench all of a sudden is the spark you needed because there's a mismatch wherever it may be, but you need to flow. And I think they both really help each other out a lot. Because when you're on set as a director, for me, it's the most fun. Everything you've been doing is now getting to this place, but you're also at a place where you have to balance your art with, if you want to kind of separate them, the business. And the business is time, money, and handling all the different personalities on set and being able to flow with everyone so everyone is seen and they are heard and what they're saying is being taken in and absorbed. But then I have to filter it and be like, what's best for what we need to make? And I think that also comes from, sports and film. Yeah, because you're dealing with true creatives and artists in front and behind the camera, but the art department definitely is going to be, a different personality, generally speaking, than your talent, which is going to be different than your client. Like they all have a different way of relating, which is in life. You're going to talk to your parents differently than maybe your best friend. So you have to do the same on set when you have all these different personalities and you have this goal to move us. Because if I shut down, the whole thing shuts down. And if I lose the vision, then all of a sudden everyone's like, we're doing something like, how did we get over here? And you go, oh, let's go. But it doesn't happen a lot. You pretty much stick to what it is and you're making everybody part of the process. But at the same time, you also have a vision that you need to execute. Yeah.
I tell you what, mate, I can understand now why the fuck you're so successful. Fuck, but that was beautiful. I was watching, I was like, this guy knows what he's doing. Like, this is incredible.
It's fun. To me, it's fun. It's, my mom was a social worker and my dad is a financial advisor. So I really got the sense of learning empathy as a social worker and learning structure and sort of business sense with the business, financial advisor. So you have that sort of balance of that approach when it comes to art. Because for me, my parents were always 100% like, go be an artist, but they were also like, how are you gonna pay bills? so they were like, we'll help, but this isn't just fun time.
Yeah. You find that a lot with creative people. The parents are either like, yeah, go do it, or are you mad? Go get a proper job.
and for me, I can only speak for myself. I'm grateful to have both. Yeah. So that was very like, go follow your passion, but at the same time, you need to be responsible financially. And it's interesting as a production company owner now, which I've had pretty much since the very beginning, but to a point where I would be signed with a production company, but also still run my own projects as well. You learn to balance the art and the business. Yeah. And I'll talk to people on set and it's my dad wanting to share information. And I'll be like, why, I remember when I was first told this was, why am I paying so-and-so? I should be paying the business. And the business should be paying you if you're an independent employee, contractor. Because everyone's freelance for the most part. But I guess my point is this, rather than the example is the point that like there's financial literacy that we don't teach. And as an artist, it'll help you, even if it means, hey, you just made X amount of money. What are your bills for the next 3 to 6 months? How can you make that last?
Yeah.
So that somewhere in there, you get another project and that'll keep you going. Just as elementary first steps, those are even like things that aren't usually taught to artists. And artists don't think in that way of, or creatives think in that way of like responsibility and structure. But just a little bit of structure then all of a sudden gives the artist even more freedom, because now, they're able to live that creative and monetary space, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
I always talk to I'll sit afterwards with my crew or people and we just talk in terms of like, what are you doing with your finances? What's going on here? How are you doing your medical insurance as a freelancer? Because unless you're in the union, you're making a certain amount of money, or you've got your own production company with employees. If you're an individual, how are you making this a livelihood?
That's awesome that you'll look out for your crew like that. That's really noble. I like that a lot. Because there's a lot of people that won't.
Yeah, you gotta look out for your people. I mean, I remember when someone told me, Ethan, why am I, legendary director Scott Calvert was like, Ethan, why am I paying Ethan later? I should be paying whatever your production company is. And that production company, and I was like, oh. And right after there, the next week I got my production company, like official. I had it before, but it was a DBA, doing business as, which is essentially still, it's connected to the personal.
Yeah.
But to actually separate yourself and create your business, especially in California, and if you're in, but anywhere now, wherever you do any work, it's not just entertainment. If you're a graphic designer or if you're whatever, you want to make sure that you have that business and that everything's run through that business. And investing money in that business and you being an employee of that business is better for yourself than doing it individually.
Amazing.
And those are things that aren't really taught, I think, in school in general. That's more like you have to know somebody, and then it like trickles. But where's it trickling from, and how do you? So I like to just I like to be a sponge, and then I like to share information with like-minded people that are sponging it up too. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it goes circular, because it's amazing the relationships I've made throughout the years where you'll share some knowledge with someone, you build a relationship, and then all of a sudden they're sharing knowledge with you. And and it's just, it goes back and forth. Yeah. So it's good. Yeah.
You should definitely write a book.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's something I'll think about. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. No, lay it down the line though. Lay it down the line.
Art and business. Yeah. There's definitely it's just stuff that isn't taught, and I'm just a very matter-of-fact type person. And
exactly.
And whenever, a lot of times also when it's taught in a way where you can't absorb it. It's like, I don't need to know. Sometimes you don't even know how or why. It's just have a someone you trust and be like, this is what you should do. And it's like, yeah. Okay, here's what you call, ask them the questions, but go do this, because that's going to help in the long run.
Yeah, and there's a definite gap in the market there, because it's like, you're right, no one talks about it.
Yeah, no one talks about it. It's funny to me, just a perception of a freelancer, because we're on set and we booked a job, which is an amazing feeling. We booked a gig. And so then everyone gets into work mode, and you're like, all right, you're balancing your budget with your creative, you're doing all your prep. We have our shoot, we're at the end of the shoot, and the first thing that everyone always says is like, oh, so what you got coming up? There's never a moment of fuck, we did it. There's that moment, we did it, and then you're like, oh, so what you got coming up? I'm like, I'm still finishing this job. But that's the mind of the freelancer. You're thinking, what do you have coming up? How can I keep networking? How can we keep building and making great art and work and make money too? I remember there was the first person that said, because we all do this to make money. And money too. Just the idea that it's something that's sort of faux pas to admit that you do your art, but it's also good to make a living off your art. If you feel like you're being true to yourself and the art you're making, there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? I think it's good to money brings freedom, and art does the same thing. And it's all about you could be making $1 million, but if you're spending $2 million a year, you could be making 100,000 a year. But if you're only spending 50 G's, and then it's all how you want to play your Monopoly game.
What's the expression? It's not just show business; it's the business of show. I believe something like that.
And everyone has a different way of doing that too. The idea of investing in yourself. I'm at a place now where I have different intellectual properties, IPs that I'm developing. Some of those are doc series, some of those are longer scripted. And I'm getting a lot of really great movement, and I'm really excited to be pitching and speaking with big digital platforms. I'm also super excited about what the options are for indies and platforms and YouTube and building channels at the same time. Like there's a lot of opportunities out there. What was I going to say? Oh, but the idea of investing in yourself, it's interesting because it's all about, again, what it is that your goals are and what you want to achieve. I remember I was talking to someone and I was telling them about, the project that I'm developing that I'm investing into. And they were like, oh, wow, that's a lot of money. Most people might not invest that much into this, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, cool. And then I got off the phone and I was thinking about it and I was like, yeah, but the person I'm talking to just came back from a film festival and stayed at the hotel where everybody was to connect with. And they spent X amount of dollars during that time, which I'm like, whoa, that's like, yes, I want to be in the mix, but wow, that's a lot of money to spend on hotel rooms to be in the mix, where I took that same amount of money and I put it into a project that I'm developing. But everybody has their own way of investing into themselves and what is going to benefit their strengths. And some people is to make something and be like, hey, and some people it's to be like, and in addition, and they have different things that are their strengths. But home dude at the hotel is networking and being in the scene. And so, but they're also in the producer realm, so that makes sense. But for me as a creative, I like to draw energy to projects that I'm creating, because I feel like that starts to happen in organic and authentic ways, and money will start to connect to the project, and talent starts to connect, and that starts to be an authentic relationship that it just starts to take on a life of its own. It's cool. Sorry, I felt like I was rambling a little bit there. I don't know.
Ethan, we ramble as much as you
love
like.
a ramble.
We do. The people listen to us talk bollocks all day, so by the means, you carry on. It's fascinating.
Right. It really is. But you mentioned then like projects you've worked on. So obviously you're most famously known for your music videos, but I was doing my research and I went onto the fountain of all knowledge that is IMDb. Now, according to that, your first project you worked on was a film called Positive. Is that right?
Well, it was Positive is one of my short films, but that wasn't my first. The first the first real short film I ever made was in, I think it was high school. Yeah, it was high school. Let me just think. Yeah, I think I was like a junior, senior, maybe in high school, and I had plans to make this film. Trying to think the best way to tell the story. So it's a short film called trying to remember. It's called The Sound of Racism. Okay. And so it was like a visual piece about racism and the idea that, I don't know if you ever made, at school you played with the rainbow umbrella, or not the umbrella, parachute. Yes. And kids would hold it, and then kids would run, and then they'd grab it, and you'd sit on it, and you'd have all the air. Do you remember that in like gym class? Yeah. So the premise of the short is that you pretty much have representation from almost every ethnicity. There's Black kids and white kids and Asian kids and Indian kids, and Hispanic kids, and they're all just playing under this parachute, and all you hear is laughter. And then parachute goes up, and it falls on these two girls. And they're having a conversation. They're from different ethnicities, and they're pulled away from their parents. And then the parachute flaps in the air, and in super slow motion, it just sits there and hangs, but there's nobody around. And it's just dead silent. So it's just this parachute kind of just hovering. And then I recorded all the kids, and all their voices saying, "This is the sound of racism." And so we overlapped that this is the sound of racism. And that was a piece. And then the parachute just kind of fell on the camera. And so it was about 2 minutes long. And at the same time, Spike Lee with HBO and Burrell Communications was doing a contest based on his documentary about the 4 little girls, the 4 little Black girls that died in a church that was bombed. And so the contest was to create something that was either specifically about the events that took place, or something about racial intolerance, or racial relations or things like that. And for someone like me, I've really grown up in a diverse space, in a diverse world. Where I grew up was predominantly white, but I just always gravitated to everybody. And so really had a strong network of diversity in my life in terms of friends, and then becoming friends with their parents and and I've always have been a network of representation and diversity to today. And so they had that contest, and I was like, oh, let me submit to this contest. And I got a special honorable mention, which was amazing. And they had like a prize reward, a monetary reward, which at that time I was like, holy shit. I think it was like $2,500 at 17 years old, making a film. And you're like, and my dad's like, put it in the bank. Just put it in the bank. And I did. I was like, what do I need to spend money on? I was just put it away. Like, I'm going to go to, for me, plans were going to film school and college and stuff like that. So I was like, just put it away. And, but yeah, that was the first like real short film that I made. And it really, you know, is something I'm proud of, that looking back now, like, I don't know, 20, 30 plus years later, that I'm like, wow, that was the first film that I made, and that's what I wanted to talk about. And this was like 97, 96. And yeah, it was powerful. And to see, to make something at that age and see people that like were at such a level I couldn't even think about, watching something and it connecting with them was like, oh wow, that's why I want to make this. I want to do this more. It kind of showed me early on, like, keep going, because it was that feeling of like people responding to it. Like filmmaking itself is such an interesting thing, because you have this idea and you think about it in your head, and then you like write it down on a piece of paper, and then you go and you like do it in real life. But then now it's on a computer and you're putting it together, and then you show it and people experience it. And there's this whole like journey of filmmaking that watching them experience it is a whole like mind fuck in itself. You know, to think of something in your head and then watch people emotionally respond to it.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh shit. And you're like thinking about the timing and working to that moment and earning that moment through the work and the story and the context and what we're creating, or the idea of like, it's a huge hit song. At the same time, let's make something unexpected. Let's make something that people aren't like already planning to see, but at the same time, it's relatable. And it's like, for a client, maybe it needs to be universal. So let's do that. And now we're like, oh shit, it's, you know, we're seeing, I mean, kind of when I came out, it was like the YouTube. So the viewership is just, you could calculate it. And there were times where, you know, just through my career, you know, especially in music videos, because there's so much freedom. So you're really seeing my ideas. Like I get a song 90% of the time and it's like, what do you think? You know, very few times people are like, we want this and we want that. And there's not a lot of details. It's more like, how do you interpret this? So I'm always like, all right, I don't want to make something too out of bounds, not out of bounds or outside. I love to be outside of the box, but you don't want to go too far out that it alienates the artist, because you know, there's a person here that I care about, and I want this to blow up for all of us. But I'm hired to make them the next step. Let's keep growing and do something that's going to just wow people. And so, you want to make something that you think outside the box, but also is like connecting in a relatable way. And so you're creating these ideas and to see the response that you get from that when it comes to viewership, if it's online or, I hate to date myself, but when you'd see like the video countdown shows,
Yeah.
Oh,
you're like, dude, I have a countdown. And you call your friend. Do what number are you on? Oh, I'm number 4. Oh shit! Like, make your way up. That's huge. That was huge. I remember. Yeah. I've got a lot of countdown stories. A lot of fun.
I mean, I can imagine watching people's reactions to your work is the same way of someone singing song lyrics back to an artist. I bet it's the same sort of euphoric feeling.
Yeah, it's definitely euphoric to watch someone and they laugh or they go, oh shit, or there's just fun times now even where we'll be out and about in life and for whatever reason the conversation will come up and they'll be like, wait, you did the Wiz Khalifa We Them Boys? And I'm like, yeah, the one. No. And I'm like, yeah. And my wife will share a funny story and you just like, wait, you did the Bruno Mars? And just because it's what at this stage of my life, what I like is that those are people that are like, I was in high school, I was in college at that time. Like those music videos are what I grew up to. And I was like, oh, dope. Because I remember the videos I grew up with and that I'd record and watch over and over again or analyze how they would do the edit, how they do that edit and how they were writing the beat or the song and stuff like that. So it's cool. I love it.
How did you get into the world of music videos?
How to get into the world of music videos. I've always loved music. I've always been very much into like rap and hip hop from a very early age. And I started in short films. And then when I was in Boston, I was shooting rap concerts, like indie rap concerts. And some of the artists would ask me like, hey man, can you do music videos? And I was like, yeah, I can do music videos. And at that time, I was always hooked on music videos. And you're seeing the, David Fincher, Spike Jonze, Hype Williams, you're seeing opportunities come from music video directors into other formats, commercials, features, things like that. So I felt like that was a good way to make the transition. It was a creative way, and I could also build my skills on set while making an income and creating awesome work. And so that's how I got started. And it was just me and like 2 friends, and I would shoot it and direct it and edit it and produce it and just like do everything. But what was nice about that is that I was actually holding the camera. And so you would start to, you're what's the word? Just being hands-on, you're understanding the different departments. So later on in life, when it was like, hey, I got a DP now, this is great. I kind of knew what shots I liked, but then they bring, their style and their craft to everything. And it's nice to have someone that you can start building your team, like sports. And you're like, oh, I got my DP here. I got a great production designer. Oh, I love this producer. All right. And you're putting your team together, your casting director. And those are people, for me, I like to use those similar people. And then it's good to switch it up. And then you come back. And it's just like you're putting together a nice team with your sports and your art. But that's how I got into music videos. The first music video I ever did, I got on BET Rap City. And I was like, oh my goodness, we're on TV. This is it. It would say director Ethan later, and that was super euphoric. And then from there, just hustling and doing smaller projects and making them look bigger so that people would ask me how much they cost, and I could inflate the budget to get more money to try to just get, and hustling and making relationships with managers and really manifesting that this moment was going to happen. Yeah.
So obviously the first big one that was, I hate referring to IMDb, but it's where you get the list of things in this world. Let's be honest. The first main one on there was for B.O.B. Nothing on you, nothing on you, babe. It's like a reflex.
Yeah.
Was that you putting yourself out there, or were you approached, or how did that one come about?
No, that one came about. So at that period in time, I had gotten the reputation. One of the commissioners told me that was like, Ethan, you're one of the most talented directors out here without a hit song. And I was like, yeah. Because I was having all these great creative ideas, these great treatments. I wasn't booking anything. I was doing more independent stuff, which is great. At the same time, I wasn't booking anything with any major labels and really trying to build my brand. And after I did B.O.B. Nothing on You, that song was blowing up before we even shot the video on radio. So I was just excited to be part of that. How that came about is I submitted through my rep at the time, and then heard that they wanted more out of the box creative ideas. And I was like, cool, let's keep going. And so then I through doing independent rap videos, had met people that were managing or part of the management of the record label for the artists, like the smaller one. And so they were like, hey, this is what Bob's looking for. So then I was like, great. And so I turned around another idea, which is the one that they ended up going with, and sent that to my rep, but also sent it to his management. Like just kind of finding tentacles and being like, let's just get this to him. And for me, when I heard Nothing on You, I thought it was a celebration of women and beauty. And that's why you see a mixture, again, think of like my first short film, of this collage of beauty, of all these different women of different nationalities and all their beautiful features. And that was the through line for this song. So this song, Nothing on You, that's, we gave it, I think I brought a level of depth and personal connection to that. And it was awesome. And we literally animated that in my house at the time with the computer keep crashing because it was all paper, and we printed out, it's all paper stop animation. So every frame you see, we shot it, edited the video, got approval, then printed out every other frame. So it's stop animation. And stop animation, you take 2 frames at a time. So if there's 24 frames in a second, you take 12 shots, right? Because each frame is 2.
Yeah.
So you print out whatever it is. I think it was like 6,000, 7,000 frames. So I think we did 4,500 around there or something. And then you got to think layers. We didn't sleep for like 4 days. I remember my animator, I went into the room one time and he hadn't slept yet. And I was like, hey man, can I get you anything? He just was like, get me Subway, just screw me out. Got you Subways, dude. And just feed him. But like, being ambitious, knowing that this was an opportunity and being like, I want to deliver this above and doing it all the time. That's always something that I'm very prideful about. I love when I over deliver for my clients and they're excited about it, or they have an idea and then I get to bring it to life for them, or whatever that collaboration is always so rewarding and fulfilling.
Absolutely unbelievable. But how do you approach a conceptualization of a music video? Like, is it collaborative? Is it like, go on, Ethan, run free, go nuts? Like take your interpretation of the song and just give me whatever, or do they go, we want this, and this?
It matters on the situation. It's all, here's my experience. My experience is that it started with a little bit of guidance. It was like, hey, so this is a new artist. We want to incorporate some choreography. We could have a little bit of narrative, but we really want to get some strong performances out there. Cool. That gives you a nice little place to go, all right, I can play. Sometimes you'll get stuff that's like open brief, and that means we don't really have a direction. Most of the time earlier in my career, it was just sort of like very general. And kind of tying back to the last story, after I did the B.O.B. Nothing on You, I met Bruno. And Bruno was like, hey, I'm doing Just the Way You Are. I'm getting, I want to get your idea. I'm not going to go into that story of well, we did Just the Way You Are, where, yeah, this is actually a good story, ties into what we're saying. So Bruno hits me up and he's like, hey, I'm getting all these treatments, man. And it's all about me and a girl, and it's all just like lovey-dovey, love on a piano. And I don't want to do that. I want something cool and different. And I was like, cool, I got you. He's like, come by the studio. Came by the studio, and I showed him the artwork that we used in it, like the VHS tape. Erica Iris Simmons is the artist. And I had that treatment for something else I had pitched. And I really wanted it to happen, and it didn't happen. And then look how it comes back. And so I sat there with Bruno and I was like, look at these things. Like, your music is very soulful, and it's very kind of like, has an analog feel, like the idea of like throwback, old school. We could do this thing with a cassette tape, and maybe you start to make images. So that Just the Way You Are is you're showing her. And then she doesn't like it. She sees herself something different. And I think he said, oh, maybe I move her hair. And then she moves it back, and we can touch it. And I was like, that's great. And the label said, we don't want to do this. They said, we want to see his face, and we don't want all the animation. This is what I heard at the time. And so, but you have to think, like, as a big corporation with Bruno coming out, and Bruno's first single, his first one, he had done Nothing on You. He had done the I Gotta Be a Billionaire, the Fuck You Kilo. Like, he was hit. And now he's coming out and he's like, no, I want to do this animation. I don't want to. Yes, you'll get this, because this is the most important shot in the music video. I don't care if you have explosions. I don't care what it is. If you're a new artist, and this is it. Connect with your audience. And like, they want to have that. So they wanted to see his face, no animation. And I remember he was like, we're doing it. And I was like, we're going to do it. He goes, I'm going to go in there in my cowboy boots, and I'm going to stomp around, and we're going to make this video happen. And Bruno pushed it through. And, after going Nothing on You right into Just the Way You Are, now I was a really creative, the most creative director is what I was coined at, but now I had 2 hit songs. And so what happens after that, which makes sense now looking back, and when you look retrospect bigger, just in life, if they were to give me a video, if a commissioner were, not to give me, but if we were to work on a project and they were to award me a video and I were to just bomb, that commissioner may lose their job, because they vouched for me, and they were, if I'm proving myself and finding a way, any way to prove myself, now I prove myself, they can just be like, hey, let's go to Ethan. Hey, let's go to Ethan. Yeah. If I were to bomb and it doesn't work out, they can be like, well, that was the Bruno Mars guy. I don't know why it didn't happen. Like, that wasn't on, it just gives them that safety. What worked for me, which was great, is that now I was getting all these songs, and I was recycling all these treatments that had been passed on. And so now I was personalizing these treatments for them, but what if we do this technique? What if we mix medium that? What if we do it upside down? What if we do forced perspective? What if it's in reverse? And everyone was like, book, because now once you break through that safety space, and now they're like, oh, we can count on you. They're like, all right, let's keep feeding in jobs. So it was great. Yeah.
That's incredible. And now that's reached 2 billion views on YouTube.
Yeah.
Which must be mind-blowing for you.
Yeah, I don't think I've really processed what that means. I'm excited about it, but I don't know. I'm proud of the video and my personal relationship with it and what Bruno and I created. I think it's important whenever I'm making something that it's something I'm proud of, and that it's going to represent the client and what we're making. And in the back of your head, you're like, oh, I hope people connect with these certain things. And I believe they will, but I'm not making something that I'm hoping everyone's going to connect with. I'm making something that I believe this unit of what we're making is working.
Yeah.
And then that will make people connect with it, because this is going to just be so undeniable, whatever it is. Yeah. And whatever that project is, whether it's a documentary, it's a music video, it's a commercial, the whole point is to engage with your viewer. Your viewer needs a suspension of disbelief. They believe anything that is possible. They're hooked on. And now more than ever, you want to grab that attention. And the attention span's getting shorter and shorter. So how do you do that? And so I feel like I'm kind of lost what my point was here, but just the idea But the idea of working to get, the 2 billion views, it's something that I'm excited for it to get out in the world and to know that people are experiencing it. It's amazing, the 2 billion. I don't know. It's something I don't really spend a lot of time thinking about, I guess.
Yeah, which I think is a good way of doing it, though. I think it's a great way to do it, because you're not there going, well, the numbers, look at the numbers. Like, why is it not, you're actually focusing on the art itself and the job that you're doing and that you're creating for that artist, rather than, why it's still got 1,002,466 billion? Like, why is it not, blowing up all over the place?
There's so many variables that have to be in sync for something to be successful. And what gives me goosebumps is the idea of projects that I've worked on that have been so successful, and I've worked on so many projects, and all of them are successful, but some of them that just reach, foundational for my career and other people's careers, that it's one of those things where, like, I've done the most creative jobs and not a lot of people have seen them, or they have lower numbers. But I'm still so proud of what we created. Yes. And when I share it with someone and they're like, I've never seen this. This is fucking bugged out. And I'm like, cool, right? And they're like, when did it come out? I have an indie video that I did, totally piggybacked it off a tiny, tiny video. And I was like, dude, I have the camera. Do you want to shoot something? I want to shoot something super weird. Like I'm getting all these videos and they're great, but this is super early in my career. This is, just to put it in perspective, this is when Kanye had a blog. So there are blogs, and it was Kanye's blog. And so we shot this music video, super small. I think I play a cameo in it, and it played on Kanye's blog, which was huge at that time. There really wasn't a bigger platform online. He saw the video. The artist didn't have a huge following or anything, but the video caught his eye. He posted it on his blog. I think it's like 2007 or 8 maybe. But for me, this might sound so weird, that feeling and the 2 billion feeling all are in the same happy melting pot. Because you're like, I made something with nothing, and fucking Kanye was like, I'm gonna put it on my blog. When it was, and I'm just to give it context, it was like the Uber of taste and handpicked selections. It was like, this is like before Yeezys, before everything. This was like, here are sneakers I like. Because it was his blog, it was his, and he put that video on it, and I remember everyone hitting me up like, "What the fuck?" Like, but that's just a totally different experience I've had through my career that like is outside of the world of more like well known, I guess you could say too.
Yeah, that's what success is measured in so many different ways. It all depends on what you count as success for yourself. So for you, Kanye West sharing it, fuck yeah.
At that time, like in terms of platforms online, when you're talking blogs, that was huge. And the idea of I always find that interesting, the idea of what success is, because it's so different in everybody's head, and it at the end of the day, for me, comes down to what makes you happy. Exactly. And if the money. If the goal is the money, and then that's what makes you happy. If the goal is the art, if the goal is both, if the goal is to have a company, it's whatever it is that you want. You know what I mean? And there are people that are billionaires, and we've seen so many documentaries and stuff that just don't seem particularly happy. They have everything we think you would want, but there's just I think it's about finding a way of balance for me. And that idea of success and working in the entertainment field, it's an interesting hypothesis, that I've experienced with so many different people throughout my career, that it's an interesting thing to think on.
So I was looking at like the list of people you've worked with, like The Script, Mariah Carey, Enrique Iglesias, Wiz Khalifa. Like, obviously we haven't got time to talk about them all today, but I was wondering, like, is there ever pressure there to be like, holy shit, I am working for Mariah fucking Carey? Or are you just like, I'm doing a video, it's a Monday?
It's never a video. It's a Monday. That's for sure. With anybody.
No,
Like,
we don't.
like, you know, what I love about the projects that I create is that, they are an extension of me, and this is my baby too, and I want it to be as successful as it can be. Sometimes that means, well, not sometimes, and that always means being flexible, and sometimes that means that the vision may differ with what the collaboration is and understanding what the goals are. When it comes to big celebrities and working with celebrities, I've always had really positive experiences. We're there to build something together for them. And, regardless of like if they're having an issue with their management or their label or whatever, we're in sync. And I think because of the ideas that I bring to the table, I've been able to work with a really diverse group of different artists. When you think of genres and ethnicities and where they come from, and international videos that I've done, huge videos for Chinese artists and Korean artists and things like that. It comes down to bringing something new to the table. They buy in.
Yeah.
It's not, everybody can make however kind of video they want. The videos that I make aren't usually the traditional. It's not like, hey, here's a party, or there's a car, or there's an attractive person or a club. It's usually like, all right, we're going to do that, and there's no gravity. Or we're going to do that, and everyone's frozen. Or we're going to do a stop animation. Or there's got to be something that everyone's like, how are we going to do this? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's going to work.
Has there ever been
I've done some tests, and in my head, we can make this. It'll work.
Come on, Enrique. I could be your hero today. Come on.
I love doing that. I love doing that. Like, and when you think of the Enrique, and we had the hologram dancers on the pole, and we're still kind of like, all right, so they're going to come in and out, but how does the camera move if we have the pole? And like, you're trying to find new ways to. My whole thing is that if everyone hears a song and is going one way, I want to go the other. I want to go ironic. And what happens with that is that the artists are excited and they're engaged. They don't feel like they're doing the same thing. This is just my experience. I'm not on their other sets. But I know that I get positive experience from them, that they're excited about what we're doing. They're looking at the monitor, and when we're doing like practical things or VFX type stuff, they're like, what are we doing? I remember I shot a video with NLE Choppa, who's a new young rapper, and he's on this green barrel, and he's straddling it, and he's like, what am I doing? I go, this is getting a huge bullet, and you're going to be riding the bullet. And it's in the treatment. He had known beforehand, but I'm just reminding him. And he's like, oh, crazy. I go, yeah. I go, almost like hyper real Looney Tunes-esque big bullet that you're sitting on. And he's like, okay, great. And then he's standing in a big green screen, and we're like, yeah, we're going to make sharks all surrounding you. So like getting them engaged, is exciting. I think after the fact, there's times where you're like, holy shit, that was DMX. I was like, oh my God, I did a video with DMX. And like, we were in a prayer, and DMX does a prayer before we start our shoot day. And you're like, goosebumps. And it's like, no, those are moments like I will have forever, and I have those with lots of different artists. Yeah, I don't think I think it's about, I'm when it comes to an artist, I'm being invited into their space. And so it's important for me to bring my flavor, that's why I'm being brought in, but to respect their space, so that I am enhancing what I'm there to do. And I think if you go with that approach, and it's always a positive approach, it doesn't even have to be the right approach. Sometimes it's good to throw an idea out in a respectful way, and for someone to say, actually, no, we want to go more like this. And then you're like, oh, well, what about this and this? And then they're like, oh, yeah, that's it. But if you never threw out that idea that didn't work, you don't get the information.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Absolutely.
I like to be guided. Guide me as a director. Show me what you're seeing, and then I can elevate it. Or if you want me to just go from blank canvas, I can rock that too. it's all about what it is that they want, what they're hiring me for, and what they want me to create. Yeah,
it's funny you say that. You've actually kind of led beautifully into my next question there, because one of the music videos you did, I absolutely adore, and that is "Drugs" by Falling in Reverse. And obviously, that song's very personal, like the meaning behind that song and everything. So you've got to have that collaboration with the artist. Say like, this is what this song's about, and I kind of want to get that message across. So,
yeah. Just in terms of your question is.
I was going to say, is that something that happens quite often? Where, because obviously that song is about like suicide and drugs, obviously. So is that thing where you sat in this instance with Ronnie and be like, right, what message do we want to get across? What message have you got in this song for us to work on?
So that's a great question and a great example, because this is the other flip side. Ronnie comes to the table and he's like, I'm going to start here. I'm going to do this neon noose. And he has all these ideas already picked out. And he's sending me these specific images. And then I come in and I go, okay, what if we shoot it here? What if we do this? Oh, what if the noose hangs like this? What if we do, I can't think of an example, but I like to elevate his ideas. And so in those scenarios, Ronnie comes to the table and brings me specific ideas. I elevate them and build around them. So he may have, I'm trying to think of, yes, for instance, like he's like the beeping with his mom in the hospital scene in that video. He was like, I want there to be a hospital scene. And then I was like, what if we manipulate her face when that other moment revs in? And I'm like, and he was like, oh, that would be great. So I'm seeing what he's bringing to the table and how can I elevate that even more. I'm trying to think of that video in particular. That's a lot of Ronnie being like, this is how I see it. He wanted to chainsaw himself in that one.
Yeah.
That's the one, if I remember. Is that where he comes out of the grave? Or is that the one before? That's Losing My Life. Yeah, Losing My Life, he comes out of the grave.
The drug starts with him lying on the floor face down. It's been a while since I watched it. And lots of neon.
Oh yeah, lots of neon.
Lots of neon.
And the new scene is really powerful. And then there's the scene with his mom, and then he chainsaws himself at the end. Because that's video features the lead singer of Slipknot.
Yes.
Yeah. That was a fun video. We shot that overnight, and the last scene we did was all the blood. So it's just him with the chainsaw and the blood. And it's just like, it's great. But situations like that, they were like, here are the ideas. Where you get another, situation, and it's like, for Bruno, it was like, yes, it's a romantic song, and he's going to play piano in some part. Ethan, what can you bring to the table to make this special?
Have there been any moments in music videos where, or even in movies or anything that you've done, where you've had an idea, you've started to play it out, but it doesn't really quite work out, or something has gone quite wrong, you've had to improvise on the fly and change it to something else entirely?
I mean, one of my mentors told me early on, he was like, Ethan, being creative isn't coming up with the idea. He said, creative is when shit hits the fan on set, how are you going to still deliver? How can you creatively take in everything that's going on? You're hearing what the client wants, what the artist wants, you know what the vision is, we have to deliver, something's changed. I've never had a situation where something went like totally off the rails and we did something totally different. There's always times where things will change. And earlier in my career, you would try to hold on to that vision lock of it needs to be this way, because this is the way I saw it. And as you grow, you start to realize, okay, some of these happy accidents are really good. And you're in post, you're like, wow, that worked out well. Maybe it's better not to be vision locked and be like, yeah, let's try it like over here. Or, hey, we were planning for the sun to be here, but now it's in a different space, so let's shoot it this way. hey, everything was supposed to be black and white, everything. And then the artist comes out and they're wearing cheetah print. And I'm like, yeah, the treatment was like black and white. And they're like, yeah, but dude, I got this cheetah print fit. I got to wear it. And you're like, all right, let's try it. And you put it out there. And that's like your favorite scene that you shot afterwards. You have to flow. You also have to be a taste maker and a filter, so that if there's something that doesn't feel right or doesn't sit right in your gut, that you express it with your client. And you're sitting there and you're like, maybe we do one like this, and maybe we do one that's with the black and white outfit as well. Yeah. That we can kind of just safety. What do you think? And they're usually like, yeah, let's do that. Just because maybe something doesn't automatically click. I think it's best always to share it's all about how you share. It's not what you're sharing. It's not what you say. It's how you say it. Yeah. So you could be on set and something's not working, and we could be like, oh my God, it's not working. We need to, or we could be like, all right, so let's just take a second. And it's problem solving.
Yes.
It's total team. Like when I was growing up, I go sleepaway camp. You camp and you problem solve together, or make a fire or whatever. You're like, all right, who's getting the firewood? Who's getting sports? You're on set and you're like, all right. And you're talking to your heads. You're talking to the production designer. Hey, I know that we have the thing that we're supposed to use later. Bring it now. Yeah. And that person, do you know what? We have that wig. Turn the person, put the wig on. We won't know it's them. Great. Okay. Do you know what? Yeah, we can make this work. And you, what is it? You play music, you play jazz.
But you also don't want that person to come out and you'd be like, oh my God, why are they doing, you kind of want to not make them look like
but that's about, I think, again, it's not about, you need to respect the situation and know that you're stepping in if it's a music video, you're stepping into, they all are different. So a music video, it's the artist that's pretty much going to have the final say. I can guide. If it's a commercial, what they're wearing has already been picked out by the agency and client and been approved. I'm not trying to ruffle feathers now. If this is what's approved wardrobe, let's shoot. Yeah. Like everything's different. If it's a documentary and we're doing an interview and someone's wearing something that's like moiraying or flaring on screen, or is a logo we can't show, we say, hey, we can't wear that, unfortunately. Do you have anything like this and this? And they're like, great. It's all about the different scenario that you're in terms of how you approach it. At this part of my life, it's like I've done so many music videos, but as well as commercials and docs, and now really getting into longer format, narratives, that they're all the same and they're all different. But you have to know what the plan is and go in with a plan, treat people with respect. As a director, I like to create a safe space. People feel like, let's work hard. He's working hard, but he also is really respectful, and let's rock it out and let's work. But it's fun work.
Yeah, you sound like a great manager. I wish I could work for you.
Right, I was thinking that.
I mean, there's definitely everyone's got their pros and cons. You know what I mean?
I mean, if you ever do a shoot in the UK and you need two guys just to come and help out, we know someone, right? Yeah.
I'll definitely. Yeah. When you guys come visit LA, you gotta let me know. We'll go grab a round of drinks.
Sounds like a plan. But obviously, we spoke at length about your music videos now. But did I read that your commercial for Disney came from working on a music video with One Republic, was it?
Yeah, I did the One Republic Good Life video, and that was another stop animation idea about holding on to memories and finding a visual way to do that. And that year, Disney's campaign was about bringing the memories home from their parks, Disneyland Park and Disney World. And so they reached out to me about adapting the music video into a commercial. And it was definitely one of the more unique experiences where the actual creative agency was going to the original creator and saying, hey, we'd like you to make this. You see that, I think, a little bit more now, but back then there was a lot, or at least I had seen a lot of something will happen on a music video and then it'll be on a commercial, and they just essentially replicated the idea. Where here they were going to me and saying, hey, you created this great approach. We want to use that. It was so essentially in the video, the artists and other people are holding memories that are on these boards. And in the Disney commercial, they're in the park and you had characters and they're holding boards of other people's memories, the idea that they would be taking these memories home. So it was really cool. And to doing the commercials, we then did a Good Life Disney version of the video at Disney World in Orlando afterwards. So the job just kept building and evolving from there. That was definitely one of, like, that's a highlight for sure. Growing up, going to Disney, being a kid, you're in a place that doesn't change pretty much. Like, you know, it grows, but the castles are there, the characters are there. It's the happiest place on earth. And now I'm there and I'm directing and it's closed for us, or I'm directing with the characters and I'm telling Mickey, hey, Goofy, when you come through here, they all stay in character. Like you're talking Goofy on set. So you're like, hey, Goofy, when One Republic does this, can you kind of give like a little Goofy skip and then run off? And like, yeah, I'm talking to Minnie, and Minnie's giving me a little attitude. And I said, Minnie, you know, I've worked with Mariah Carey and Mary J. Blige and J-Lo, but Minnie, you are the diva. You are the queen. And Minnie was like, don't you know it?
That's phenomenal.
But they all stay in character. They are Minnie. So you're on set doing this. When we shot the Disney version in Orlando, I flew my mom to set. So she was on the Disneyland park. And so she's on one of the director chairs and I'm directing the video and turn back and like there's the client and the agency and all the Disney reps and my mom's sitting there like the biggest smile on her face. Like, oh yeah, my son's in freaking Disneyland doing this project. So that what started as like doing a music video for One Republic and being like, wow, this is a freaking awesome song. And it's just such a powerful song. And I've just been very blessed and I'm very grateful for the level of quality of music that I get and that there's so much positivity that I think comes from my work. There's a lot of like, you know, empowerment and positivity and creativity and fun that I think people get from watching my projects. So to do One Republic and to see that evolve and to also think about like, you know, when I reached out to Erica Iris Simmons, who is the artist whose work we use for the Bruno Mars, once Bruno said he wanted to do it, I reached out to her right away and was like, hey, do you want to be part of this? And I think even in the credits, it says director Ethan Lader, you know, visual concept or visual art by Erica Iris Simmons. And she did CNN interviews and it was great for her art and her brand as well. So it was nice that Disney was now coming back to me as the creator of this idea and Universe was paying it forward. It was special.
That's awesome. I was looking through your commercials and stuff and saw you did a commercial for Young Arts. And that was where you got your start, wasn't it, at Young Arts? So that must have been real special.
Young Arts was, so what Young Arts now is, back then it was National Foundation Advancement of Arts. Now it's Young Arts. It's a national program. And as a senior, I think you have to be 18 and under, whatever. You're a senior in high school, you submit. And it's a like extended weekend of bringing together like 50 different artists throughout the country from all arts. So there's filmmaking, there's dance, there's musical theater, there's photography, there's painters, sculptors, and they all have a mentor and an assistant that are professionals that you get selected to be part of this workshop. And then you're able to submit your project for different tiers of awards, which have some financial, you know, winnings. Then they also do something called a presidential candidate where they select like higher tier. And so the year that I was selected, so I was 18 and I submitted to it, and I submitted The Sound of Racism. That was the project that I was like, okay, I just did this project. Let me submit this. And so I was accepted. And it was the first year that they had filmmaking, actually. So it was an interesting experience to be like part of this national thing, but also kind of fighting and making ourselves known as well. Because everyone was like, it was very more performing arts and visual arts, but now here comes media arts. And what's awesome is that, so that commercial was maybe 8 years after I had been part of the program. They were like, hey, we're doing some promos and we'd love for you to be part of it. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And so there's a couple of projects I've done with Young Arts since then, whether, EPKs or promos, just building notoriety for what they do and just them working together with alumni.
That's awesome. It must be amazing to just help spread that message of what they do, because also how much it helped you.
Yeah, 100%. For young artists, for young people in general, to be in a space where they're receiving feedback that what they're doing, that they should continue doing, just getting that sense of like, yes, keep coming to the sports practice, or yes, you should keep following in the arts. To get that sort of feedback, to have programs that can do that is so important. I think music, arts, sports are so necessary, especially in junior high and high school, that it's a space for people to express themselves. It gets off a lot of angst. And it's also, if it's something that you're really passionate about, and you can hopefully, if you're doing something and your light is shining, people want to be part of that. And I think when you do that, you find mentors. They appear, or they just organically, you'll start to find people because they're like, wow, you're serious about what you're doing. The only way you really get serious is for people to say, hey, you're doing a good job, or hey, continue doing that, or you win an award, or you win a game, or you do whatever. Like, I think that's important. And so having that early on in my life was very like instrumental, I think, in terms of being like, I can do this. I can make this as a career. I'm also a super like persistent, stubborn person. So when I knew I could do it, I was like, I'm going to do this. And everyone was like, what's your plan B? And I was like, what's the point of a plan B? This is what I want to do, so I'm going to do it. And if I dedicate myself to it, it's going to happen. There's a quote that I still believe in, but it was like, it's a good one, success. You judge your success by what you sacrifice to get it.
Yes.
What did you sacrifice to get the success? Because if it's just easy and you're getting it, well, and that's cool too. If you get it, that's great. But most success is coming from hard work. And I know we've heard it before, but you see stories or hear things about it happening overnight. It just is not the case. Even when it's overnight viral with social media, there's so much going on behind the scenes before that thing. Yeah, if you're making America's Funniest Home Movies and that goes viral overnight, yeah. But if we're talking about people with a craft and they want an art and they want an expression, whatever that is, it takes time and it takes hard work. And everyone goes through different journeys in their career. That's always something that I've held on to. Is like, what's the success I have now? Okay, cool. What was I sacrificing right now to get it? And sometimes it's like, nah, I was chilling and I'm coasting. And sometimes you're like, no, I haven't seen friends and family in months because I'm just hustling and working and grinding and loving it. And I love both, but you have to know that like, it doesn't come from without hard work.
Yeah, absolutely. And now you're delving into the realm of full feature lengths. And like obviously you mentioned at the very, very beginning of this interview that you're currently editing. Is it your first one ever?
So no, this is so I've shot TV movies before. I've shot longer form. This is actually a pilot. So it's my first pilot that I've shot for a series. So this is my idea that I've created and developed. It's my own IP. And I'm putting together a package with a pilot, which is a standalone short film as well. And then it'll go along with a pilot script and like a series Bible, they call it, which talks about the first season and goes more in depth with the characters. And so
Okay.
it's a presentation that, and this is what I was talking about earlier, that I can bring to networks and say, hey, is this something that you would want to make? And we can make it and look at this pilot / proof of concept. This is the tone. Now you're seeing it, you're feeling what it is. Or there's also the other side of, hey, do I know private financiers, or do I know sponsorships, or how can we do some brand sponsorships? We could do a YouTube page. And now they're designing YouTubes that you're going to have your own episodes. You do it yourself and build your own viewership. There's a lot of like change going on, and there's always change with entertainment and everything. I think it's happening faster now, and it's all about holding on to your core values, whatever they are, but also being flexible and growing and adapting and evolving with what's going on as well. So I'm now building, I went to a place where I was like, all right, I've made these awesome music videos. I've gotten a name for myself. I've launched a lot of careers. I've built some really big songs. I've made some campaigns for these really big companies. I've shot docuseries for these other big brands. What do I want to make? And when 2020 happened and we had this just shutdown, I was like, all right, this is great. There's no jobs. So I'm not constantly working. I can actually just focus on, I was like, how do I want to come out of this quarantine? Because we're going to come out of it at some time. So I came out of quarantine with a feature murder mystery script, with my doc series, sports doc series. And the series that I was just writing now was something I was still just at the early stages. But I was like, I want to come out with stuff so that I have content. Content is king. It's not just this idea, it's a script, you can read it. It's a project, here's the sizzle. And seeing the development in that journey from 2020 to where I am now, where seeing how the background and what's behind the curtain of how do the deals get made? How are we selling shows? How are they presented? How does a creative who's a businessman also now have to give his idea to a larger production company because they're more reputable in this space? But knowing when do you have to be like, all right, you have to pay your dues. That's part of the project, but you process. But you also don't want to get abused. It's that balance. And so, yeah, so I'm seeing that with my different projects, and also learning early on that it's all about how you perceive it, but they all move at different paces. Nothing's happening overnight. So you're like, well, while this project is done and we're waiting to hear back, I'm also pushing this project. Yep, and that project's now at that stage. Okay, great. Let's go shoot this during the holiday break and shoot the pilot so I can come out next year and be like, all right, let's hit the festival circuit, but also have something that I can do private screenings with my studio friends and be like, hey, man, this is what I got. It's not out yet. And so I'm building my stuff. Now it's coming literally from like, this is what Ethan later wants to make. How can I make something that with the success, I'm making more jobs for myself and the people I like to work with?
Yeah, phenomenal. Building the Ethan Lader brand. I like it.
Yeah.
And I feel that independent movies now, and independent series, let's say, is blowing up at this current point in time because nobody goes. I don't think anyone goes to the cinema anymore. I mean, I feel like from a personal standpoint, I feel Hollywood is just rehashing now. There's no original ideas anymore. Whereas independent film is like, watch this 5-minute thing, and people are going, "Fuck, that's amazing."
It's an interesting space right now because it sort of reminds me of when music was the term was like bubblegum. And there was a moment of like, I think right before like rap music too, it was just everything was so like safe, has to be safe. Music videos are safe. And then we got into a space where it was just like, no, like music is gonna push it, and it's gonna be provocative, and it's gonna be and it's gonna represent the youth even more as to what's really going on. Music is such that extension. We're in a space right now where, there's a lot of different factors involved, and like where the streamers were in a certain place in their business careers where they could spend more money, they're not in that space anymore. Yeah. And so because of that, there's not as many things being made. Also, you look at like just where we are economy-wise is going to have a trickle effect. But really what it comes down to me, because I don't really focus on that stuff. I focus on me and my bubble and creation. And so if I'm like, cool, I'm going to make some stuff, when we talk about what's going on, it's a lot of people in the high places making things that are safe. And the problem is that we've run out, I don't think we've run out, but we're running out of this superhero situation, I think. And what you're going to see a lot of is like there's a new Lord of the Rings coming out that's all 2D animation, right? Anime style. And so it's going to probably be epic and awesome. I think you're going to see a lot of the superheroes transition, like you see Spider-Man, where it's going to go anime style, which isn't good for people that do physical production. It's also not the best for actors, you know, that need to be there. But you're going to see that, and they're going to make those movies. On the flip side, if there's not anything that's wowing you or out of the box or new or different, when these independent movies get made, they really blow people's minds.
Yep.
And so I like to focus on my strengths and what's going on in the market and being like, let's focus on the strength rather than, you know, boo-hooing on the side. So I'm one of those people that's like, all right, I know how to make something that's different, unexpected, that connects people and is also relatable. And I don't always say commercial, but universal. It's something that people watch and they can understand it. They may not like it, but they understand what's going on. They're not like, you know, you can watch a movie and it's just like someone looking at a blank wall for like 20 minutes and like, I got it. You know, like I personally just as an artist I appreciate everything, but I need a balance. And I think there's a big space for that here. And I think that that's something that because there unfortunately isn't a lot of risk takers out there, that if you take a risk and it is in the content format, there's a good chance people are going to want to see it because they want to see something fresh and new. And it's all about perception in terms of your timeline. And I always tell young filmmakers when I'm talking to them, they'll ask me questions and I'm like, look, don't worry about where the other person is. Worry about where you are. Not worry, but focus on where you are. Because it's all a time. Everyone has their own timeline. I remember when I was, you know, a director trying to get on and I'd see other directors I look up to, and then I surpassed them. And I saw other directors behind me surpass me. And what's surpassing is that's all an idea of what you want to do anyways. For me, it really came down to always wanting to have my expression. And when it came to longer form like features, it's a more controlled situation unless you go do it yourself. And if you're going to be a director, that's one thing. But if you're going to be a writer-director, you now actually have to learn a whole nother set of tools, which is how to write a proper script and tell a proper story. And so that took time for me to learn and sharpen my tools to get to a space where I'm like, I'm coming out now as writer-director, and that's going to be my next launch. And I'm at a space now where I'm working on projects where I'm getting the feedback from people reading it from all different levels, as well as starting to see some of the dailies that we shot that are just like, you got something. And I'm like, cool. And we'll see. And I'm making it for me, and I'm making it for, and I hope that it connects, and it'll connect to who it connects with, but I'm excited about what it is. Before I forget, it's called Tadpole.
Nice.
You can check out the IG handle is watch_Tadpole.
Incredible.
And it's a horror drama comedy, coming of age, purposely offbeat and quirky, but talks about a lot of relevant things that are going on right now in a really quick pace. It's a lot of fun, and I'm having a blast making it, and I'm very proud of you know, just showing it to people next year and submitting it to festivals and just seeing how it does and seeing how audiences respond to it. It's kind of like when you turn 40, for me personally, you were like, oh shit, you took a step back and like 40 years. And you're like, what's the next 40? And then you're like, what do I want to be doing? You're like, I see, you envision where you see yourself. And you're like, all right, what are the steps to get there? And like, and you're like, all right. And so I'm really excited about this project, Tadpole, and what's going to come from it. And yeah. And so hustling projects and staying authentic and, being a creative that looks inward out.
Yeah. There's
so much out, like, information, and some of it's really cool and some of it's not, and some of it gets lost in kind of, but what's so important to me that I want to express. that I want to share. And, I can't eat if I don't share this. I can't drink if I can't sleep. Like, it's on my mind all the time. I want to share this idea, and I want to do it in this story because this is something a little offbeat, relatable, and I think those are the ones that really connect with everyone, whether it's music, whether it's dance, or whatever. If you're like, oh, I like that color in that car and that thing, and let me try to make something, it gets really muddled. But if you're like, I want to make something about this. And usually it's like this really simple idea that probably comes from your childhood that's important to you, that you're like, I want to tell a story. Now it's going to be, a rescue adventure, or it might be a drama. How do you want to tell that story? But what that seed is like it has to come from inside, because otherwise you're talking about something that isn't personal to you, and then it's never going to connect with anyone.
Absolutely. And I think it's showing how, like, I don't want to say mainstream, but how like independent film is taking over. I think the best example of this lately is Terrifier. Like, that film is everywhere.
Oh, yeah, I need to see Terrifier.
But like, they released Joker and Terrifier at the same time, and everyone's like, I've had enough of the Joker. What's this? Oh, this guy's made 5 or 6 films of this character now because he wants to get it over there. #1 movie.
Yeah.
Like, phenomenal. Because the passion is there.
The Substance. Did you see The Substance?
I've heard of it, but I've not watched it yet.
Watch The Substance.
Yes, I've heard very good things. I do need to watch this.
It's one of those hard to watch, love to watch it. Like, you're definitely like, I'm not giving anything away, but it has body gore.
Yes.
And so there's times where you're like, oh, but it's so well done. And it's such an interesting story and shot well and well directed. Like, I definitely recommend checking it out. But yeah, in terms of indie film, like, it's the same thing. Really, at the end of the day, it's the same thing it always is. If you go out there and you want to make it, you're going to find a way to make it. And people would ask me questions all the time. I was like, go pick up a camera and shoot something. And nowadays, you got your camera on your phone. Go shoot something. Go shoot it, go edit it, look at it and go, oh man, look at all the mistakes I made, and then go do it again and get better. But, it's one thing to ask me questions and hear stuff. It's another thing to like go do it. Like, go find a musician and shoot a music video for them. Come write a story and go make it with your friends. Use your phone and create this. Which I think we're seeing more and more with the accessibility of social media. But I also think that there's times where I think young artists feel like no one wants to hear this, or there's too much of stuff. How am I going to stand out? Where before it was like, if you got on television, that was like, you're getting to the goal, and then it's theaters. Everybody can release stuff to social media. So as an artist, sometimes I think you can feel like, do I matter? Does my voice matter in this whole ocean of all these things? And I think, go shoot it, be true to yourself, go from in out in terms of your idea, and you'll find people that I think will gravitate to what you're creating.
Absolutely. It's persistence. And what I say to my daughter every day, practice makes perfect. Just keep doing it. Just keep doing it.
I remember I lived in Venice, and I was walking my dog, and there was a skateboarder, and there's a place where there's a like a bench, not like a bench, like a railing. And this guy was trying tricks on it, and he was missing it. And then he landed one right as someone was walking by for the first time. And they were like, nice job. And I count both of this. The person that said nice job walked away. And the skater said, yeah, I didn't see the 1,000 tries before that.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of like taking in the world and just watching and thinking perspective. It's all about perspective.
Absolutely.
And like you said, practice makes perfect. Yeah, it's the same thing. And everybody sees the landing of the trick. What about all the the work that went into before, whatever that work might be, physical, mental, writing, whatever that could be. But I definitely encourage like young artists to do their craft and put it out there and use their voice for sure.
Absolutely. Ethan, I couldn't think of a better way to start bringing this to a close, because it's such a beautiful message. Do it. We all start somewhere. Just do it.
Yeah. Go make it.
Absolutely. Mr. Stevens, any more questions for our incredible guest?
I do. Ethan, when you first started on this journey at 9 years old, writing in that book that your mum gave you, saying you want to be a director, did you ever think this is where you'd be today?
No, yeah.
No, yeah.
Best answer.
Yeah. I always at a young age was blessed with the idea of confidence. My mom and dad were both very much like, my mom was like pushing me in the front of the line. Well, so, go, you know. I never thought I was going to be able to. Do you know what it was? I always thought I was going to be successful at what I did. I believed in myself. As I grew, I would set goals. And so was I thinking about right now? No, when I was in high school, I was thinking about college and that next step. I was already ready to graduate. When I went to college, I graduated early because I was like, I need to get to LA. When I was in LA, I was like, I need to do a music video on a major label. And I just kept thinking of the next goal rather than the huge picture, good, bad, whatever. That just worked for me. What amazes me is that when I think about being a kid and think about like all the places I've been and experiences I've had and people I've met, you know, I've filmed in Ireland and Hong Kong and traveled the world and traveled, you know, and just met so many people from different walks of life. And it's really special that I'm able to do that through my art. Like something that I'm passionate about, that really like, you know, resonates with me. It's interesting because like it's hard, I think, as a person to talk about the present because I try to just be present. It's easier to sort of talk about what it was like then. And when I was a young kid, I mean, what really got me going was the movie E.T. I saw E.T. and I was like, I love creatures, just growing up, drawing creatures, things like that. But when I saw E.T. at 9 years old, I bawled my eyes out because it was like, holy shit, they're such good friends and they're bonded. Holy shit, E.T.'s gonna die. Holy shit, the only way for E.T. to live is for him to let go. And I'm just like, and at the time, I didn't realize all that. I look back now, but at the time, you know, there was just this, I'd never seen a movie like that before. But what I did remember in that moment being like, whoa, I'm crying because of this story. Yeah. I want to make things that people respond to. I want to make people feel the way I feel by watching E.T. And at a young age, I was like, I want to make stories that matter to me and hopefully resonate with other people. They could be funny, they could be heartfelt, they could be empowering, but they need to be true to the artist that I am. And I've always held on to that even as a young age. It was like, I'm making this to engage. I don't want this to be wallpaper. I would much rather you say, I hate this, I love this, than it was cool. Like, I'd rather you have a feeling about what I made. You know what I mean? I always pride myself on my music videos to be like, I want people to watch them on mute and be like, what the fuck, what is this? Memories that come into my mind is the very first time my now wife and I went out of the country together. She's Mexican. Her cousin's getting married. We're in a small town in Mexico. There's no white people. We're in the hotel, and I had just done a video, and I was like, I wonder, it's a Latin video. I was like, I wonder if it'll pop up. I wonder if it'll pop up. I'm waiting. The elevator opens. My girlfriend at the time walks out with her cousins, and I just go, look. And she looks up, and there's this huge Latin artist called Alejandro Sanz. Alejandro Sanz is huge. Like, you talk to like it's just huge. It's enormous, and especially in Latin communities, it's huge. And it says Alejandro Sanz, No Me Compares, I believe is the song, and then it says una película de Ethan Later, an Ethan Later film in Spanish. And I'm looking at my girlfriend, and I point, and she just looks at me like, "What the fuck?" And her cousins meeting for the first time are like, "Wait, you did Alejandro Sanz music video?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's me." And she was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Yeah." So it's just like those moments where you're like, and actually that same trip, we were riding to the church late, and our taxi driver, his ringer goes off, and it's Weedham Boys. And my wife, girlfriend at the time, tells him they're speaking in Spanish. Hey, this white boy in the front seat is the director. Like, nah. And then we took a picture together. And I was like, well, I need to take a picture with you too, because this is just such a fun story. And those connections and seeing those responses or those moments, and that comes back, it's crazy now that I'm just saying it out loud, but it comes back to like making the sound of racism, seeing the beauty and diversity and difference and change and representation, and working with lots of different people and being in different scenarios, and then it pops up. And it just pops up, and you're just like, you know, that's why I say, like, if you're a young artist and you're serious and passionate, just keep working, because if you, as we would do, like we talk about like musicians back in the days, create your buzz. And the buzz would be like, get your name known in your city, get your buzz. Then it's the region, get your buzz. Then it's the state or the city, you know, and you grow. If you're doing that, you'll find people that want to help those young filmmakers because they're talented. They also want to help like they were mentored. When you work on cool shit and I think, give out good energy, you just see your work start to pop up. And it's just, those moments are really like personal and special, but you're like, yeah, it was cool. You know what I mean? Like, that was a dope moment. Like all that work and stuff, but like you're here on vacation and it pops up in another country. Those are special. You know, bringing my mom on set at Disney. Yeah, it's like personals, and they all have different things. You know, like relationships I've made with musicians and artists and projects and creators and things like that. That's amazing too. It's all special. Like, I think if you are passionate about what it is that you're doing in life, you are going to find blessings there. Yeah. You know, yeah, my experience, like traveling to a place like Japan and seeing the range of different jobs, and no matter if your job was at the top, bottom, or whatever a top, bottom means, people took pride in what they do. You're also talking about a lineage and a heritage that goes back to samurai, and it's about respect and discipline and practice and honor. So if that's where your seed is coming from, whatever your job is, if you take pride in what you do, it takes some of the work out of it, you know, like, and so for me to be so passionate about what I do and have to make a career out of this is like, that's my, like, I'm like, I can't believe, but I can believe, because you focus just on the steps, you know, like things that'll show up on my feed or stuff, but there's one that most people have seen, just like if you're in a forest and it's nighttime and it's completely black and you can't see anything, you know, and you're so nervous and anxious about like, oh my God, how am I going to get out of the forest? How do I get out of the forest? How do I get out of the forest? Well, you're not going to get anywhere if you don't take a step. Yeah. So you take that first step, and then you take the second step, and then you take a third step, and then you take another, and then, you know, and then next thing you know, if you keep going, and it's not all going to be easy, but eventually you'll get out of the forest, and then maybe you'll see a light and you can get where you need to go. But if you just stay in one space, you're not growing and you're not challenging yourself. And that's a whole other thing, the idea of like, then the growth and going from being comfortable doing music videos in short form into a new space and being like, all right, we're going to be comfortable in this uncomfortableness because this is growth and this is what growth feels like. And it's easier said than done, but I think there's positive, constructive ways of doing things, whether meditating, working out, reading, whatever it is, that you can then take those next steps. But it takes work and practice. You know what I mean? Like everything.
Yeah. Ethan, you are a beautiful human, a beautiful soul, and we appreciate you so much for taking time. I appreciate
you guys.
You really are.
Thank you so much, man.
I'm just going to repeat something I said right at the start of this. I think you're amazing, just the way you are. No.
And when you smile. Oh man,
even seriously, that then just motivated me so much. Like, I just want to get up and go fuck shit up. Like, it's 11 o'clock at night and I'm really tired. I might wait till tomorrow, but you get what I mean? Like,
yeah, fuck shit up.
Yeah, absolutely
incredible.
incredible.
People are like, hey, I have kids. No, get your kids in on it. Like, fuck shit up together. Like, you know, like, it's just about, it's all good stuff. It's all good stuff. Well, it was great talking to you guys. And like, I can't wait to connect again.
Absolutely. Ethan, where can people find you out in the world? Plug social media's websites. Where can people find you? What are you doing?
My website is ethandirector.com. They can check out my website there. My IG handle is @EthanDirects. And the project I was talking about, Tadpole, is @watch_Tadpole. We've been posting some behind the scenes, some photos of what's to come. I'm editing right now, so I'm in the thick of it and going to continue after this, which I'm so excited to jump back into that world. But we'll be doing updates in terms of what's going on with the project. We'll be releasing teasers and things like that. So you guys should follow me too, and I'll follow you back. It's all good stuff. Yeah, and if there are any artists out there that want to contact me, that have any questions, you know, feel free to reach out to me during those spaces. I'm always a sounding board, and I'm a sponge and love to share as well.
Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. What a way to end the year. What a way.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, we didn't talk about it till last year. I love that I get to be the last of the year. I get to end it on a good note. We're starting next year on a good note.
Hell yeah, absolutely. Seriously, man, thank you so much for taking the time to chat to us today. We really massively appreciate it. All the best with the project, with the Tadpole project, and everything going forward. But we'll definitely keep in touch, and hopefully we'll have you back again soon.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'll talk to you guys soon. It was a pleasure.
Take care, Ethan.
Thank you so much, Ethan.
Take care, man. Bye-bye.
Cheers.